Well, it does. And there was 14 comedians on that show, but the thing, I think the beauty of that show again was that the people who were watching that show for the first time, Series 1, in 2001, none of our faces were familiar. Nobody knew who we were. So there's that kind of little element of, are these guys real? What's going on here? Who are these?
You're on podcast, me, John Lebbon, the legend Archie Kelly. Archie, welcome on.
Legend. Can't be bad.
How's lockdown been? Because you've moved to Wales, haven't you, North Wales?
Well, funnily enough, because you say that, North Wales, we moved to North Wales after nearly all our lives in Manchester on last July. So we had loads to do. Got this massive garden that needed loads doing. So it's been a godsend because we've had like weeks and weeks where we've been working in the garden during the day, and then we can, in the evening, just walk along the beach or walk in the mountains, walk along the seafront. So it's been an absolute godsend. I don't know what we'd have done if we hadn't moved house. If we were still stuck in Manchester, because you can't really go out without bumping into people, can you? So.
Well, that was the problem with everyone on the beaches and that, wasn't it? Like, everyone was like, oh, I can't believe people are going to the beaches. Like, well, people have been cooped up for 3 months.
Well, until a couple of weeks ago, there was a 5-mile restriction, so people couldn't come down, to North Wales. So, we basically had just locals. So, it's dead easy to avoid people, But now it's all opened up, and it's going to be a lovely day tomorrow, so we won't go anywhere near Ross-on-Sea, Colwyn Bay, Llandudno, Conway. Won't go anywhere near because it'd just be chock-a-block with people. But yeah, it's been okay. I mean, I've not done any work. My last gig was on March the 13th, and we were supposed to be doing something in Series 3 of Brassic, Sky One show Brassic. That should have been August, but that's been postponed. I know I'm doing a bit in that. I don't know exactly what, but so yeah, basically just been a full-time gardener. That's
the thing with work, though, isn't it? Like, I've seen a few comedians started doing shows in car parks and gardens and things like that. And I don't like the look of doing anything like, because yourself, you can go in the room and think, oh, the lighting's wrong, this isn't going to work. Whereas now you think, in a car park, how's that going to work? But I don't know. I can't say he's getting back to work because every day just doom and gloom, isn't it?
It's needs must, though, isn't it? I mean, I'm doing one at the end of August and it is outside a hotel, so I'm assuming they've got some kind of marquee up or something like that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of comedy is about atmosphere, really, and it's about when you get everybody laughing, then it's easy. But when people are spread out, it's a bit like filming something or rehearsing something, or it's got a falseness about it, so it's not the same as in a packed room,
Well, with cars and that, it's going to be odd, isn't it? If you're MCing something, like, how do you MC a car park? Do you like pip you on if you're drinking? It's going to be weird, isn't it? Yeah. I've just seen them and I just think, I'm brave comedians doing it, but like you say, everyone needs cash, and you just don't see where it's ending. Everyone's money's getting stopped. Is it August now? So this is when you find out what's going to happen next.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know Phil Walker's doing one up in St Anne's, near Blackpool, and I know he's doing one because he put feelers out about who wants to do it, and he's straight away, like you think, God, how's this going to work, But I mean, I'll have to ask him. He's done one, but I don't know how it went.
I think I've seen Phil's on Facebook. It looked like it went well. It looked like people were enjoying it and stuff. It's like when I see people going on Britain's Got Talent, I just think, oh God, I wouldn't fancy that going on after someone with a dog doing tricks. Never mind like in a car park or something like that. And you think, I don't know, quite brave to do it, but if you need the money, don't you?
Well, I mean, things like Britain's Got Talent, I mean, they're done basically for profile, aren't they? I mean, some of the acts have been, going for years, and it's just making that breakthrough to the next level, isn't it? It's like appearing on television in anything, really. Show business is about, I think it was about 18, first agent I ever had. I always remember him saying, show business is like, if you imagine a big wall, you got to throw all this mud against it and just hope a lot of it sticks. You know, it's about getting noticed, isn't it? Really. So I understand why they do it, but you're right. Just to go and do your stuff in front of a panel of, some of them look like they've never performed live in their lives, and you think, you know, you're being judged by people. I don't mind being people commenting who I know can do the job, who've done it for years and giving me advice or saying, I like that what you did. But really, when it's, you know, when it's someone who's never been on a stage, you have no idea of all the different factors that can influence a performance. It's like when you do a corporate and maybe it doesn't go particularly well, but it might be the size of the room, you know, there's no PA system or PA system that keeps cutting out, and they don't realise that all these little factors in a professional gig, that's what makes it easy for the performers.
Well, that's why corporates get paid so much, isn't it? You sometimes turn up and they're like, oh, could you go on while we're having dinner? And you're like, that's not going to work. And you go on after the strippers, you're like, that's not going to work. And you just, sometimes you drive to them, don't you? Think, no matter what the money is, you just think, I just don't fancy this. This just looks horrendous. Well,
I did one, and it's not like an apocryphal tale or anything, but I did one, and he did this big presentation. It was like on a big screen about these children dying, you know, in Africa. I think it was a fundraiser for that, and then I think he did it deliberately, to be honest, but he introduced me straight after it, and you know, what can you do? You know, it's not like, on with the comedy. You know,
well, I didn't want at Windermere, a dead posh hotel in Windermere. There was only like 2 tables. I think the youngest person was 70 odd, and I thought, they're not going to like this, but they wanted half an hour, and I muddled through it, and I thought, I started getting a feel for it, and then I went into like a wanking joke, and this fella just stood up. Well, I just thought, oh, they're loving this. Fella stood up and just grabbed us by the collar and walked us out. I walked out, and I thought, well, what am I meant to do? All my stuff was in there, and I had to walk back in, like undo my banner and stuff like that. And they were going, oh, this is a lot better than last year. And I thought, how bad was last year? Do you know what I mean? You just start thinking, oh. And that's why I'm glad last year I didn't do any corporates or anything. Anything that come in, you saw that looks horrendous. I just batted them off, because I used to sit in the house. You'd be sitting in the house getting anxiety on a Thursday, think, I don't want to do this. I know it's horrendous. And you look in the diary, don't you, think this is just coming up, getting close and horrendous.
Well, people might see you in a comedy club, and then they'll say things like, I mean, I've had loads of this over the years. They'll say, oh, come and do a spot at the wedding, you know, my wedding. And you go, sorry, I don't do weddings. And they go, what do you mean? And the first one I ever did, and the last, I went to this gig, and I said, look, there's no children going. Oh no, it's all adults, and they're all, you know, just friends, basically. A few family. So okay, then get there, and there was 2 or 3 rows of children sitting there with their arms folded in front of me, right, and then all the adults at the tried to warn you, but no, you know, but.
How did you get in? Did you start off in comedy? Because you can sing as well, can't you?
Well, it's a strange story, really. When I was about 11 years old, and it sounds really daft, but we lived on this. We lived in it was like a masonette in a council estate in Manchester, and I was all the houses were quite close to each other. And one, say it was about tea time or something, I was in the bath singing. And my mum came up, knocked on the bathroom door and said, can you be quiet? And then I went, what? And what happened was, there was a group of women outside, neighbours, and they knocked on the front door and said to my mum, will you ask him to sing that one again? So that's basically when I sort of realised that I could sing, you know. So I got into a couple of my mates, about 4 of us, we used to go to these different talent competitions. So like on a Monday night, there'd be one in Manchester City Centre. Tuesday night, there'd be a talent competition in Wythenshawe, and one in Oldham on a Wednesday. So we used to get in my mate's car, because I couldn't drive then, 4 of us, and we'd go and I'd enter these talent competitions, and I used to win a lot of them, you know. So then I ended up in a big talent competition at a place called Fagan's in Manchester, which is a nightclub. And I got in the final of this big competition, and I remember I came second, and there was a young girl. She was only 14. I was about 18. She was about 14, and she came third, and that was Lisa Stansfield, you know, the singer. So
yeah.
So we ended. So that was my kind of first. I didn't really like talent competitions. I didn't really do many after that. But then I ended up singing in groups. You know, like I was in a band. It was like lads from school. We used to do these gigs all over the place, and then I ended up singing in the clubs, in the working men's clubs. And the way I started telling a few jokes was that sometimes, most of the time, you got really nice and good musicians. So you used to give them your sheet music. You used to call dots, you know. You probably heard about that. They give them, and they play your music. And sometimes you'd get in and it would just be like an old organ, Hammond organ, and a drummer. And some of these people used to say they could read music, but I don't think they did. And you'd be waiting for they play the intro and you'd be thinking, what's this song, you know? And so sometimes it would just be a disaster, you know. They'd be playing in some key that you never. So used to tell a few jokes, and it was sort of pure survival. But they weren't jokes that you wrote yourself in those days. You know, I'm talking about late 79, early 80s. So I was, 19, 20, and you used to tell old jokes, if you know what I mean. But that was your survival. And then I did remember doing a comedy song, and it was I don't know if you remember that Rennie and Renato, the
big fat guy.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah.
So I used to do both parts of that, and and just have a. So there was a little bit of light-hearted, and then what I used to do, and I'd done them at school, was impressions. So I started doing some impressions, and so I started getting booked out in working men's clubs as comedy vocals. And I remember doing this. Club in Blackpool. It was quite a big club, and I'm in the dressing room before, and with somebody else, another act. And this guy came in. It was obviously the concert secretary. You know, they were in charge of booking all the acts. They used to have ordinary jobs, like, there might be a bin man or something during the day, but they had ordinary jobs. And I remember him coming in. He sat down. Hello, and I said hello. I was only say about 19, 20, and I've got my long curly hair and everything. And he came in. He said something about comedy, and I went, "Oh, is it a comedian?" And he went, I went, "Do you mean?" He went, I said, "You think I'm a comedian?" He went, "You better bleeding not be." And so I had to cut a couple of songs out and just try to do all these jokes, because they booked me as a comedian, and being a comedian in a working men's clubs is not like in a comedy club now, where you write your own stuff, and some jokes might go, people think, well, at least, it's original or whatever. Not in those days. You had to tell some that they knew, what I mean? It was like comedy by numbers. And so that was the first time I ever did comedy. But anyway, I carried on singing for years and worked in one of these Mecca dance bands, it was in a 10-piece band. And I always remember, because I'd done Spanish at school, and for some reason I could remember a lot of Spanish, and I had this kind of passion for Spanish and stuff. And I joined this band at the Ritz in Manchester, 10-piece band, and the band leader, he was like they were like foremen, really. They did everything, and sorted all the music out. And what they used to do on a Saturday night, they'd give you a single. This is how long ago it was, the single of something that was coming out next week. So it might be a couple of songs. And they'd say to you, yeah, listen to them. We're going to be rehearsing them on Friday afternoon. So we used to get in on a Friday afternoon, the following Friday afternoon, get in early on the afternoon, rehearse 2 or 3 new songs, and then we'd do them that Friday night, so that you were always up to date with what was in the charts, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So he gives me this song, and it's Julio Iglesias, Begin to Begin. So he's singing it in Spanish, so that wasn't a problem to me. I just learned it in Spanish. So we get on the stage in the afternoon, 10-piece band, can you imagine? They're all there getting ready. So he playing the music. The brass section. And I go, when they begin. So they're carrying on playing. Quiero sentir las cosas de... He went, whoa. I went, what? He went, are you going to sing it in Spanish? So I said, yeah. He went, all right. And he thought it was fantastic, the band leader. So I get in the changing rooms after, in the dressing rooms, and we had a lad there, Gary, a bass player, and he comes in and he's got he used to have his thumb like that, like as if it was a big nose, like that. And he's coming, he went, Jackie and Mr. Goodtime Valencio, you know, and he gave me the nickname, Jackie Mr. Goodtime Valencio. So anyway, roll on many, many years later, I was teaching, because I was teaching Spanish and French in a school, and I ended up having to go at the stand-up comedy sort of thing. And I did it as a character, Jackie Mr. Goodtime Valencio, because I had this name, and it was like a former big band singer having to go at comedy, you see. And I'd only been doing it about a month, and I ended up on the BBC show with Lionel Richie and Lulu and everything. So that was in 2000. And I thought, well, this is all right, you know, the comedy. Anyway, I did some show for the BBC at the Frog and Bucket in Manchester, and it was a BBC showcase, and Peter Kay was sort of emceeing the show, and so when he did that Peter Kay thing, he said to me, "I've got this character. Do you want to do it? It's like in a club, and we're having this like committee meeting, and you're one of the members of the club, you know, who's like helps to run the clubs." Yeah, that'll do me. So I did it. This Kenny Snr character. Anyway, he does 6 sort of different things. One like an ice cream man and program seller and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, the MEN Arena, wasn't it, as well?
That the MEN Arena. Yeah. But when it came to do when it was commissioned by Channel 4 to do a series, he chose the one about the club. So the Phoenix Nights, so that it became Peter Kay's Phoenix Nights. So I'd already played this character of Kenny Snr. So it was a bit like being at the right place at the right time, if you know what I mean. So I ended up doing that. And then from doing Phoenix Nights, I ended up doing other acting things, you know, some nice, quite serious things as well with like Jimmy McGovern stuff and, you know, and soaps and things like that. And so it's been good for me because I've got like a variety of things, if you know what I mean. I mean, I only ever sing now at corporate events, but it's mainly comedy and like I say, acting. I'm just waiting to do a little bit in Series 3 of Brassic.
Did you have any training in acting or anything like that? Did you have any, like, did you go to drama school or anything like that? Or
no. I've always been. When it's to do with something to do with the stage or performing, I think I've always been a quick learner, if you know what I mean. And I think when you first get in front of a camera and you look at yourself later, you think, oh my God, you know, like you do. But what you tend to do is you tend to act as if, you know, nobody can see you, you know, as if you were on a stage and the person sitting in row Z can't see that you're surprised. So you overdo it. And the other thing you do as well is you're doing a scene. I remember doing a scene somewhere, and I was in the middle of a field, and the camera was like, you know, about half a mile away. So you're talking, and you're thinking the camera's over there, and you know, and then someone will say to you, like, "Don't worry about the camera. The camera will find you." You're you know, and so once you relax and think, just be natural, you know, and the main thing is really you turn up on time. Or main things. Turn up on time and know your lines. Because if you know your lines, you've got so many other things to think about. I mean, it's like you could be walking in a room and there's a big cross on the floor, and that's where you've got to get to and stand, you know, so that the camera, because it's already focused. They spent like half an hour focusing it. If you walk right past it, then, you know, it's cut. So, you know, if you're confident with your lines and you know, when you've got there on time, you're not stressed, then really, you know, it's about performing. Then you can concentrate on performing. It's a bit like going on stage doing stand-up when you don't know what you're going to say. I mean, you wouldn't do it, would you? You know, so. What
was Peter Kay like when you first met him? Was Peter Kay like, because he'll have only been a young lad then, was he, could you tell that he was talented? Because people always say, oh yeah, I could tell he was going to be good. Or was it just one of them, he was just quite good and in the right place?
I mean, over the years, doing stand-up comedy, I've seen so many, like, young ones come along, you think, he's got it, like, you know what I mean? I think the last one I saw, who I thought straight away, this it was that young Josh Widdicombe.
Yeah.
You know, and I saw him and I thought, because I was emceeing the show, and I think I said, you know, I think there's a star in the making there. But I mean, unbeknown to me, I think he was already being earmarked, you know, for kind of, you know, doing well. But yeah, with Peter, he had this kind of appeal, you know. It was everything he said kind of resonated with different age groups. You know what I mean? A bit about growing up and, you know, at the time, and, you know, crack pop and all that, and it really touched the nerve with a lot of people. But he's funny as well. You know what I mean? I mean, he's very, very quick, very sort of tuned into comedy. You know, he sees I mean, when you work with him when he was directing the second series, he knows what's funny. I mean, when I did Car Share, I remember doing the scene I was doing, and he just said something like, just like forget about it, just give it, you know, give it everything and like go mad sort of thing. And so he knows what's good. And what I like about when I do anything like that with Peter is that it's a bit like, you know, I mean, I know you play rugby and that, but it's a bit like if the manager rates you and knows you know, and you feel confident when you walk on the pitch. You know, it's like when I play football. If the manager's not sure about me, I'm trying to overdo it, or I'm trying not to hit a difficult pass or some, you know, and you're hesitant. But when they trust you and they think, oh, you know, I can just let him get on with his own game, and you sort of relax into it. And what he does is he lets you play with it, if you know what I mean. And funny enough, doing Brassic now, we've done a few scenes, because a lot of my scenes are with Steve Evans, who played the lead role in Looking for Eric.
Is that the older farmer guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, you and him probably the best bits.
Well, when you see what he does when he does that rant, I don't know if you've seen the episode.
Oh, about the young kids, and he finishes with like machine gun, doesn't he? Yeah.
I mean, you know, and now that's for me. It's comedy gold. That it's like it's a TV moment. The fact that there's a lot of swearing in this series would probably, the only thing that would stop it being like a Del Boy kind of moment, you know, where he leans on the bar and it's not there.
Yeah.
Because there'll be certain age groups that won't be able to kind of see it, you know what I mean? But apart from that, but the point I was going to make about that and about doing Brassic is that they let you go with it, you know what I mean? They let you have a go, and rather than say, stick rigidly to that script. Because you know yourself, someone will write something for you, and you read it, and you think, I can't see what's funny about that. You know what I mean? Or the way, or people don't talk like that. You know, it's like it's not natural, the language. So when you're on something where they let you go with it, you can just riff, and then, you know, they'll say, right, okay, have another go, and blah blah. And then we did a scene together where we were just insulting each other, you know, and about our cars and stuff, and it was great, because you can just part of your skill as a stand-up comic really is that kind of ad-libbing stuff, and it helps when you're doing an improvised scene in television. So it's all sort of come together, and you know,
Phoenix Nights was like that, wasn't it? Because Phoenix Nights, you had loads of comedians, didn't they, and stuff like that. And it makes it naturally funnier, I think.
Well, it does. And there was 14 comedians on that show, but the thing, I think the beauty of that show again was that the people who were watching that show for the first time, Series 1, in 2001, none of our faces were familiar. Nobody knew who we were. So there's that kind of little element of, are these guys real? You know, what's going on here? Who are these? Whereas I think if he'd have got household names to play each of those characters, I don't know, it loses a little bit, if you know what I mean.
It's like the In-Betweeners. You watch the In-Betweeners.
Yeah,
when I see them characters in someone else, I think that's Jay, that's Simon, and that's Will. There'll always be them three people, whereas they were the same as you. They weren't known at the time. It just made it a lot better to watch.
Well, I absolutely love that. I mean, I think it's a great series. And the other, I mean, I like the Young Offenders.
Yeah,
and that's great as well. The way those two play off each other, and the Derry Girls I like stuff like that. It's just off the wall, and you know, and good characters. But again, you see, they could be real, because you don't. I've never seen them in anything else. And I think there was the This Is England series. They started to repeat it now. None of those were known faces. Yeah. Now, if you watch it now, if you've never seen it before, you'd be going, "Oh, that's her off. That's Vicky McClure off whatever." Oh, that's Joe Gilgan. Whereas when you watched it years ago, in the 80s, it was like, "Oh my God, what's this?" And you weren't distracted by the fact that these people have been in films or been stars of other TV shows. And I think that was the beauty of Phoenix Nights, really. That a lot of us were just totally unknown.
Well, I liked your character on Phoenix Nights because I think everyone in the UK can relate, because everyone knows someone who's just a lying bastard. Do you know someone that's just telling fibs all the time? You go down the pub, there's one in every pub, isn't there, saying, "Oh, I'd have been this, I know this person," and stuff like that. That's why I like that, because even now people will stop you and still quote you. Kick Jackie Chan in the back over there.
Well, they often misquote. They come up with ones that were never actually in the series, if you know what I mean. They get them sort of mixed up. But it's usually men who stop me and say, because like you just said, they know somebody like that. They've grown up with someone or they've been in a pub with someone. Whereas, a lot of the other characters, like Paddy's character, for example, when we did the live show, we used to come off the stage at the end and we'd sign autographs on the programmes. People, thanks for coming. We'll do something for you. And I remember it was with Steve Edge and Janice Connolly playing Barbara Nice, and we'd have these, say, 3 or 4 people queuing up for us to sign. And we just looked at Paddy's queue, and he used to have this massive big queue of women, all queuing up for him. But mine was always the old men who, "Oh, I love your character. I've got a mate just like that," So you're right. A lot of people think they know Kenny Snr.
And you got to sing at the MEN Arena, didn't you? But you're dressed as Britney Spears.
Oh God, I know. Tell me about it. I
think you turned a few fellas with that, though. I think it wasn't a bad-looking woman, really, to be honest.
There's a few things that I'll never live down. One is the Britney Spears thing, because what you've got to remember is, I was teaching at the time. I was still, when we did Series 1, it kind of passed by unknown. There was a few word of mouth. People were, "Hey, have you seen this Phoenix Nights thing?" Whatever. But it wasn't like battered on Channel 4 saying new series, blah blah blah. So we filmed Series 2, and then it started to be shown on TV. So bear in mind, I'm still teaching. The kids at the school where I was teaching knew I was in it. So I'd be walking down the corridor, and I'd be, "Britney!" and then they'd run away, that kind of stuff. But so it was really strange doing that.
I can't imagine you as a teacher, though. I just couldn't picture you as a teacher. Not that I've never seen you sensible, if that makes sense. So I've never seen you I couldn't imagine you looking after kids.
Well, it's funny because some of the ones I taught when they were say 12, 13 years old, I bumped into them at different things, and a few have been at my gigs and that, and they're in the 30s now with their own kids. I mean, one girl brought a 16-year-old daughter to the gig with her. And she was 13 when I taught her. So it's really strange. But it's the same kind of skill, though, performing and getting people's attention, because you remember yourself when at school, if you had a really boring teacher, or if you had one that you could mess about with, you in the end you had no respect for them and you didn't really learn anything. So it was a little bit strict, but fair. But because I used to think about when I was at school, we had a couple of teachers who people just used to run riot, and you sat there thinking, what's all this about, And you do get, children get, they kind of get, there's a role that a teacher has to play and a role that a pupil has to play. And when the teacher is weak and doesn't lay the law down, they don't feel comfortable. A child in a classroom feels comfortable when there's one boss, one leader.
Yeah.
That's what you've got to do, and I sussed that out early on. But there's a few who didn't like me, obviously, because I was too strict. And I'll give you 2 examples. We used to run from the club where I used to play football years ago. And we used to train on a Tuesday and Thursday night. So one Thursday night, I'm running along with this massive big Broadway near Chatterton. I'm running up, Oldham Road, because of that studio. You know where that studio is, coming out of Manchester.
Oh,
Oldham
yeah,
Road.
yeah.
So I'm running along Broadway, turning right onto Oldham Road, and two girls who were at the school where I was teaching, they saw me. So I'm like towards the front of this group, and one of my mates, he's a lot older than us, and he was still running at the time, and he was a bit further back. So these girls, as I go past these girls, they see it's me but they're behind me, and they see me running that way. And one of them, Mr. Kelly. So I went like that, and then I turned the corner, and my mate said, as I turned the corner, they went, "You twat!" so that's how popular I was. What was the other one I'm going to tell you? I had but I mean, when I was leaving, I got a lovely card actually off a couple of the children, and they put on the card, "Sorry to hear that you're still leaving." Only they spelt leaving Living. So I don't know what it was about. But,
Did you leave teaching to go full time in the comedy? Because it must have been where you'd been on Channel 4, one of the biggest comedies at the time, and still be in work. Because in between, the lads done the exact same thing, didn't they? Jay, I think he was fitting kitchens, and people were like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "Oh, I need to make some money."
What is strange in my case is not the classical, like a Jim Bowen sort of thing, teacher who leaves and goes into showbiz. I was in show business way before I even did my A-levels. So I didn't do my A-levels until I was 27. Right? So I'd already been working all those things about working in the band at the Ritz and doing the clubs, working in duos, doing comedy, a comedy show band, all these things. I was already doing it. So I went to university when I was 28. Right? So I did a 4-year course. I was 32 when I then did my PGCE, my postgraduate certificate in education. So then a year after that is when I started teaching. But I was still performing at weekends. So I'd teach all week, and I'd go and sing in the working men's clubs on a Saturday and a Sunday night. And even when I was at university, when I was in this country, not when I did my year in Spain, I used to sing in the clubs and stuff. So I just went back full time to what I'd been doing before. But I used to do a bit of supply teaching at the school where I used to teach. And as it turned out, when I went back, they were so short-staffed that I was in there almost as much as when. But I had the flexibility of saying, "I'm not coming in."
Yeah.
Because I'm doing so much. So if I was doing a TV show, for example, then I wouldn't go in, obviously, because that wasn't my main job. But yeah, it was good. I mean, I could do both things, So, but yeah, so I mean, I've been a singer. I think I've been a comedian now more years than I was, so longer than I was a singer. But until a couple of years ago, I'd been a singer for a lot longer than I'd been a comedian. I used to tell jokes at the clubs, but it's not like a stand-up comedian is now,
You done Phoenix Nights Live a few years ago. Like people who love the show and that. Did you think that might lead to a third series? Because everyone you talked to, there's only Peter Kay and Paddy I don't think I've met out of Phoenix Nights, and everyone would love to do it again. Is it just Peter that doesn't fancy a third series, or is it something you'd like to bring back?
Well, I think we all would. I mean, when we did, you just mentioned the show, the live show. We did it at the arena, and there was like 15. What we did? 16
nights, wasn't it, in a row? Sold out.
15,000 people in there. So it's obviously quite a fan base. Peter on his own could sell it. We know that he can sell them on his own. I mean, if Peter Kay tomorrow said, "I'm going to do the arena," it'd sell out. I mean, within minutes. And probably Paddy as well now. Paddy said, "I'm going to do a show." That would sell out as well. But no, it was nice to do the show. And what was nice was we all got back together after so many years. And it was just so funny. Like, I'd go back to what I said before about when you mentioned about comedians and on the show. There were 14 comedians on one show. So can you imagine what the banter was like? I mean,
yeah.
Just unbelievable. We never stopped laughing. And what's strange about doing things like an arena with 15,000 people in, the very first night, on the opening night, we're all looking. I mean, I think it was only Peter who really done shows at the arena. I don't know if Paddy had done one of that. Could have done. But we like looking through the curtain. It's just massive people, just a wall of. It went on and on and on, and we're all going, Jesus, And 3 or 4 nights in, we're all just chatting away before we go on. It's amazing how quickly you adapt to any kind of, situation to do with performing. I mean, I find that if there was only 2 or 3 people in, let's say something had happened, 2 coach flows hadn't turned up and you've got to do the show in front of 3 people, I find that more nerve-wracking than a big crowd. The big crowd was easy, really, for that. Because when they start laughing, it's like a can't explain it. It's like a whiplash. It's like a whip cracker. And you just do this. And when I did the Britney Spears thing, I came up from underneath the stage. So Neil Fitzmaurice is doing his
rave on, isn't it? Yeah.
So he does his DJ's thing, and as the DJ thing moves across the stage, out from underneath it, I came up and with all this smoke, and then it was down, down, down. The Britney Spears thing.
Ah, yeah.
And then the first time I did it, as I came up, I just did this, and I thought, what's that? I thought if it sounded like there was been a flood, and when the water comes gushing in,
yeah,
and it was just everyone going when they go make that noise, they go and I thought, what the hell's that? And it was amazing, really. So it's a great experience to do that, but we all sort of embraced it and just had a great time doing it, and we raised £5 million for Comic Relief, so that was good.
Well, it was weird because I remember doing shows with you around about that time, and you were just the same on doing it in front of 15,000, and then I'd be with you with maybe about 80 people in a workman club. You're just the same level. Like I used to, I don't know how you could still get up for it. Like day after you're at the arena or something, and you're at the Marchand Club in Whitehaven or somewhere like that, and you were still like them levels were still high to entertain.
When I was about 19, I was like a support act as a singer for in a place called Fagan's in Manchester. It was on Oxford Road in Manchester. And you'd have, you might not remember some of these acts, but you remember Kim Wilde, the singer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Kids in America. But this was before. This was before she was on the scene. This was her dad, Marty Wilde, and he was like, let's say, and then there was Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas. What was the other one? There was quite a few, but they were like big names from the 60s. Like Marty Wilde had done things like that. Rubber ball, keep bouncing back to, things like that.
Yeah.
So it'd been packed out with all these older people who were like, had come for a bit of like nostalgia. Oh, Billy J. Kramer and Little Children was his song. So I used to do that. Anyway, I did the first night once, and there was somebody on. I think it was Marty Wilde and the Wildcats. And the guitarist at one point in this song, he ran to the front of the stage and he slid on his knees to the front of the stage and played this guitar thing. I thought, wow, that's great, that. Anyway, the next night, right on the same time again, he does the same, gets a big cheer and everything.
Yeah.
And I said to one of because they had a house band as well. So I'm watching this, and I said to the keyboard player in the house band, or the drummer, I can't remember, and I said, he does the same thing every night. And he said, well, who do you think he's playing to, the bar staff? He said, these are different people. They've not seen what he did last night. So you could have a fantastic, going back to your original question about getting up for it, you could have a fantastic gig early on in the night somewhere, if you're doing a double or something like that, or the night before. Nobody in that audience, when you walk on the next night, has seen you absolutely storm it. You've got to do it again. You know what I mean? It's like every performance, and it's the same with teaching. Every performance is what you're judged on. And you say, oh, I had a great night last night, so I'll just take it easy tonight. You can't do that. People have paid the same money, and come to see you make them laugh or whatever, you've got to be up for it. So, I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, you know.
I can remember the show you did at Workington, and I can't remember where it was at, in Workington up in Cumbria. And you used to finish with that bit with Gary Glitter song, where you'd sing a song along to it. And then people would like, oh, what you doing? I remember it working, and they started singing it back to you, didn't they? They got to the end of the chorus, you were like, that's never happened.
They couldn't see the joke, could they? No.
Yeah. Just, I don't know, that was just a weird... Cumbria's just... Because Cumbria's not had comedy, really. So they're still stuck in the old, like, grandma, you know, like working men's sort of material, like Vernon Manning sort of stuff. And
well, it was a hotbed of working men's clubs, you know. I mean, and the North East. I mean, I remember when I was in a band. Again, I must have only been about 20, 21, and we went up to the North East, Newcastle, and all these places, and we went out on a Monday night, and we went to this massive big working men's club, and it was packed out with people. Yeah. We were going, what night is it? And we're going, Monday. We're going, Monday. Well, they're not going to work in the morning. It was just on any night of the week. It was just unbelievable. So these were the hotbeds of clubland, you know. And that's all gone now. And it's certainly gone in the Northwest. And where I am in North Wales, very, very few comedy events. But there's a lot of live music. There's some great musicians down here, you know. But, yeah, it's just areas seem to have their own little thing, you know, like if you go to Wigan, St Helens, Preston, Bolton years ago, there was a working men's club, a conservative club, a Labour club, a Liberal club on every street corner, you know. But they've all gone now. The clientele have all like died off now, and the younger ones don't want to go in. They're going to comedy clubs.
What do you prefer doing now? If you had an option of like a comedy tour, or to have an acting role that would be like 7 months long, what would you rather do now? Do you lean towards one or the other, or do you just like doing both?
That's what it was. I mean, an acting role for 7 months long would probably be a soap. I mean, I've done soaps, you know, and I know that many people who work in them, you know, so that'd be nice. But 7 months long. I mean, if it was a film, if it was in a film, you know, that'd be nice. Not really done. I mean, tiny bits in film, but I like that'd be nice to do a film. But no, I think I've always been a live performer, really, you know. But I enjoy doing TV. Say part in a film would be great. But I don't know. To choose.
In Coronation Street, you were Colonel Kebab, weren't you? It was something like that, wasn't it?
No, I thought it was a nice, funny character, that, you know.
Yeah.
And, I noticed that a lot of the soaps now they're dealing with some quite, you know, heavy stuff and, you know, serious stuff. And I always remember when I was a kid. I mean, my mum never ever missed Coronation Street. I mean, it was, you know, sacrilege. It was like missing church on a Sunday for her. You know, she always watched that. But so you'd sit there because you only had a couple of channels.
Yeah.
So you'd sit there and you'd watch it. And I've got to admit, looking back now at all these characters like, you know, Hilda Ogden and Stan Ogden and things like that. I mean, you know, they could have a serious argument between two characters or something serious goes on, and then it'd go to them and they'd just lighten it up, you know, and you'd be laughing your head off. You know, Eddie Yates and all this, but it seems to be missing that now. You know, it seems to be all heavy duty stuff, you know, lots of, I mean, a lot of serious stuff goes on in the world, and I think you can deal with it, but you can, some of the best comedies, you know, like Only Fools and Horses and things like that, and Ricky Gervais's Afterlife is just, I mean, that's just something else. You can be laughing your head off, and then the tears, you know, falling, you know, rolling down your face 1 minute. So I think you have to have that counterpoint, you know, like Del Boy and Only Fools and Horses would do something really funny, and then it'd be a really serious moment.
Yeah.
And it just punctuate it with a real punchline and have you laughing, you know. And I think soaps are missing that at the moment. I think they need a little bit, inject a bit of comedy into them, you know.
I think everything's a bit like that, though. Everything's got a little bit like that. Even comedy, hasn't it? They're trying to deal with these big issues, which they need to be dealt with, but you sometimes feel like in Coronation Street and comedian shows and stuff like that, it's probably not the place, is it? Do you know what I mean? Same with Hollyoaks and things.
What I always think about comedy is, and you book shows, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you book a show, you're not going to book 4 18-year-old comedians. You're not going to book 4 girl comedians. You're not going to book 4 guitar, playing comedians. What you'll do is you'll have one of each, and then some people in the audience will come out and go, "Oh, I love that guitarist who was on at the end, who's doing those songs, whatever. Oh, I love that girl who was on in the middle. I love that lad who was on at the beginning." And I know it's a cliche, but there's something for everyone in the show.
Yeah.
And it's the same, I think you can have these people who do one-liners. You couldn't have 4 people doing one-liners all the time, and you have someone telling great stories, someone who's good at ad-libbing, and it just gives it that thing, where there's something for everyone. And but if you're going to get someone on who does really serious stuff, then maybe you need to get someone who just does daft puns, or one-liners, and just mix it up.
And that's why, you keep saying in the news and stuff like that, comedians can't be funny anymore because it's politically correct. And you think, well, Peter Kay didn't go anywhere near any of these issues, and he's done okay, hasn't he? And I feel like I still think comedy is comedy, isn't it? If it's funny, it's funny.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You don't have to go.
I mean, you look at people like Tim Vine.
Yeah.
Doing one-liners, or you look at Lee Mack, who's just, who's got that kind of silliness about him that's dead funny, and Gary Delaney, with one-liners,
Yeah, Gary's good, yeah.
They're not serious. They're not saying, well, I've got nothing against somebody being serious, but for him to come on after somebody serious or someone after doing serious stuff, it's fine, but you can't have too much of it. I mean, I think when they do Edinburgh shows, if it's a really bad subject, I mean, like somebody going on talking about, I don't know, something terrible that's happened to them in their childhood, then, it's going to attract a certain amount of people to go and see that. But to get comedy out of it, then fair play to you if you can. Good luck.
Do you think Edinburgh is not as important as it used to be for comedy? Because back in the day, Edinburgh was one, and you get up there, do a month, impress someone, you might get a contract. With the internet and that now, you can be in someone's room in South Africa, can't you, if you want to be? Do you
can.
It's worth the money anymore because people's pay. I don't know what kind of money they lay out now. But the thing is, if you've got a show that you're intending to tour, and if you're doing it every night or sometimes twice a night, when you come out of there, come back from Edinburgh, it's you bang, and that again, a bit like learning your lines. We said about acting, that then gives you the freedom to go off at a tangent, because you're not going to lose your thread, if you know what I mean. About you've got something to say, you've done it 50 odd times consecutively. It's there, bang on. Then it gives you the freedom to relax and go, and move around it. And I think it's good for that. But I think years ago the television people would be up there, everything and all that. But I remember somebody telling me years ago that if you've been on a stage anywhere in Britain, TV people know about you anyway. You know what I mean? Right.
They know about you. Because it's the job. It's like, if you think about football scouts, if there's any kids showing any kind of promise, they're snapped up, 7, 8 years of age, So you might have a kid, you might be watching him at school going, he's a decent player. What is it? The club needs to go. They know about him. They already know about him, And for some, it's like he's not big enough. He's not, he doesn't put his head up when he's passing. He's like, they know about him and they've made their mind up, so.
Who's the best 5 comedians that you've worked with over the years that never done that much TV? Like maybe 5 that you thought, well, I thought they would definitely be on telly every week. Because some people don't want it. There's a lot of people that just don't want to be on TV, that are just happy making a living out of comedy.
The problem for me now is I'm thinking about all the ones I know that I've worked with over the years. Most of them have been on television, but there's I'd have to pick out some of the younger ones, because straight away I thought of people like Tony Burgess and Alex Boardman and Gavin Webster and people like that. But I think they've all done TV. You know what I mean?
Well, I think Gavin, he's one of them I was meaning. I think it's more of a choice for Gavin, isn't it? I think he could probably put himself forward for more, but he's just happy being a great comedian.
I thought he'd done so. I know he's been in a couple of films, hasn't he? But he was in the one with where Dave Johns was the lead in it.
Daniel Blake.
Daniel Blake. I know Gavin was in that. So it depends. Who've not done comedy on TV. I mean, I quite like. There's a lot of really promising young ones. like oh God, his name's just gone right out of my head then. But over the years ago. I remember many years ago, ventriloquists were quite big. And there was one called. He had a thing called Nucky Bear. I don't know if you remember him. It was a little bear.
Right.
But the ventriloquist's mouth used to move more than the bear's. And there was a guy who used to be on. And I remember his name was Paul Levent. And he used to have two different puppets, a man and wife puppets, Sidney Winkle and whatever. And he was just perfect. You just never saw him move his lips. And he never got near the TV.
Yeah.
And this, things like Roger De Courcy was with Nucky Bear, and these other ones, they had like likable puppets, if you know what I mean. The one with what's his name? I'm not a bird. That one. That guy. And so you used to think to yourself, that's such a shame because technically he's far better, but he never got anywhere near it. So you get a lot of that. You'll work with people and you go, why the hell has he not been, on the telly? But
well, Steve Royal's one, isn't he?
Who?
Steve Royal.
But Steve has been, hasn't he? He's been on Britain.
He's on Britain's Got Talent now, isn't he, and stuff. But he was one of them people, you could put him anywhere. You could put him in a mosh pit and they'd be laughing, wouldn't they? You could have a fight in a bar, put Steve on, the all of it.
So versatile. You can put him in any kind of, like the arena. When he did the arena, he was fantastic. He really got everybody at it,
Yeah.
So you can do the arena, you can do corporates, you can do, comedy gigs. He's just, and when going back to talking about being up for it and energy, you haven't seen him perform with more energy than Steve.
That's what I mean. Steve could turn up anywhere, and what are you doing? Doing it outside. We've got no mic, great. Do you know what I mean? I've never seen anyone so. Whereas, like comedians can be quite delicate, can't they? Like, that lighting's not quite right, and this microphone needs turned up. And
you get some who are off the wall as well, and you've just reminded me of somebody who's passed away now. But you before your time, you won't remember him. There was a comedian. He was a poet, really. He was a poet called Elvis Presley. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. No. Oh, right. Well, he rang me up once, and I was doing a gig at Bury Met, and he was from Bolton, and he rang me up and he said, he was dead laid back. He was in a world of his own, He said, I've just seen in the paper you're doing Bury Met. I said, yeah. He said, will you come and do my gig first? I said, yeah. Where is it? He said, it's in Bolton, and it's pub. I said, oh, okay. So that's dead easy. It's like, 10 minutes drive between the two. So anyway, I turn up to this pub where he's told me it is. So I look downstairs, it's like grotty old pub sort of thing. So there's a room upstairs. So I go upstairs, I look in, no stage, nothing, just a load of people in this room sat around. So I'm on my way out and he goes, oi. I went, I said, where's this gig? He went, in here. I said, well, where's the stage? Oh, there's no stage. I said, well, where's the microphone? There's no microphone. I said, what do you do then? He said, we just sort of walk around the tables talking to him, So that's what you did, So you do that and then you go on the stage afterwards, and it was like, why am I telling you that? Oh, yeah, so he had some so very, very original stuff. He used to write this fantastic poetry that was hilarious. And he never got near the TV. He was another one like Gavin, I think. He just couldn't handle it, He just don't think he wanted to do it. So you do get people like that. They just don't want to do it.
Some people are more suited to TV as well, aren't they? Like material sometimes works better if there's 1,000 there than 10 because it's got to be biting, hasn't it? When there's only like 10 there, you've got to be sort of funny ways. These people who take long-winded stories works better with a big audience. I've seen it that like the comedy store and stuff. You think normally in a smaller audience that doesn't work, but with a big audience it seems to go down well. And the way you look at that as well, because they normally push on the TV shows and.
Well, what they did with me when going back to that show when I said about. The one with Lionel Richie and Lulu. So we get there in the afternoon and Lionel Richie's doing his bit because he had to do his first. even though he was on at the end of the show, as it, when it's shown, he's on at the end. But he had to do his first because that night he was flying somewhere. He'd been supporting Tina Turner on her final tour, and he'd been in Bremen in Germany the night before. So he comes in the afternoon. Anyway, they got me to do my comedy thing. So they got the audience in, live audience, and I had to do something like 5 minutes or 7 minutes, something like that. Or 5 minutes, I think it was. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but on TV, it's quite long. So I do it, and I've got all these laughs and everything, and I come off, and he said, I said, what's up? I said, everyone was laughing at it. He said, it's gone, it's about 9 minutes. He was supposed to do 5. So what can I do? And what it was the laughing in between.
Yeah.
So I get there at the night, and Lulu's on, and she's doing her bit. So they said, you'll have to do yours again, but we've told the audience not to laugh. I said, what do you mean not to laugh? So they said, well, what we'll do is we'll put the laughs you got in this afternoon, because otherwise it'll be too long. Okay, then I can imagine this. I've not been doing it long. So I'll go on, and we do this punchline. It's like silence. So your brain's going, they've been told. The other part of the brain's going, I'm dying on my ass, And then you start sweating, and then I'm doing it another joke, and it's nothing. And you're thinking, oh, Jesus. And even though they've been told, it still alters, and you speed up and everything. I was like, Jesus Christ. I come off, it was a terrible experience. Anyway, when I watched it in the evening, there were laughs, but it just didn't look right. Someone must have been watching that going, oh, canned laughter, But so yeah, it's a strange thing, TV, when you do comedy like that. But and editing, of course. There's only TV programs have only got so long. So if you're on one of these TV programs that are about stand-up comedy, they'll edit it. So as long as they don't edit a set up to a punchline, you're all right, aren't you? But
that's the thing people don't realise in comedy. They think when you get to a certain level, you stop dying, don't they? But I've seen everyone die. Like, there's literally every person, right up to the best in TV, right down to the bottom. There's a death just round the corner for everyone in comedy, isn't there? And the worst thing is when you die, you don't see it coming, do you? I've never, it's never at the show you would expect. You think, oh, no microphone, it went all right. And then it's one you just think, you'd go out and do your first joke, you think, they don't seem to like this. And you just sort of walk your way through it.
Well, it's part of learning the learning process, really. And if you ever get to the point where you think you're never going to struggle, or you could take it for granted, that's when you will struggle. But when I did, I think it was the last thing that Caroline Aherne ever did was a thing called the Security Man, and I played a policeman in that. And one of the main stars in it, there were 4 main stars. It was Bobby Ball, from Cameron Ball.
Yeah.
And he said to me, have you ever been paid off? You ever died on your backside? I said, oh, yeah. And he said, you're not a comedian if you've never been paid off. You know what I mean? So he knew. And I said, well, what about you? And he said, he said, a lot of people don't realise. He said, me and Tommy did our first gig. I think he said 1969 in an Indian restaurant in Oldham. I said, give over. He said, yeah. He said, we used to be there in the corner doing our stuff. People would come in like all ailed up, canned up and everything. And you'd be there doing your stuff, and then you go, and just the head would go down, He said it was awful. But you've got to go through those, and then people will see someone on the TV, big name comedian, and go, oh, that's easy. Fancy having got that. But they've not been there when, they struggled, and then something clicked and they went on. So what they'll do is they'll see, years ago, it used to be Billy Connolly, or, and they'd see him, they go, oh, I'll have a go at that. And they get on, die on the backside, and then just say, oh, I'm not doing this again. It's, it's like watching the snooker match and thinking, right, get the cue, I'll have a go at this. You think, why has that not got in? So it's practice. They've practiced it, and they've died on their arse. They've got up. If they've been knocked down, they've got up and got on with it again. And you're only on TV, you're only seeing the finished article. You're not seeing what they've gone through,
Well, that's why I like. I don't do them as much, but if you do new material or like an open spot night, because a lot of people get into comedy for a mixture of reasons. I've done the stand at Newcastle, and the guy said, "Oh, before he kills himself or whatever he had it in his head, he's going to do stand-up comedy, swim with sharks, and someone else." And he said, "If it goes badly, I might not do the rest." Well, like he went on, and I couldn't clap enough. You know, you were like, "Oh, brilliant, brilliant!" Like I thought, he's a guy on the edge. I remember watching a guy come in a spacesuit in Warrington, in that pub, the Albion. I think he still does it now, comedy. And he come in a spacesuit, and I thought, I'm going to have to watch this. I had already been on. I thought, I'm going to have to see what this is. All he did, it took him ages to get us up. He opened the thing, the visor, and he went, "I've come prepared." That was the only joke he had, isn't it? I thought it took him 40 minutes to put that on. And the open spot thing, can you remember when you started and stuff like that? What they were like? It's a mixture of breakdowns and good comedians, terrible comedians.
But again, my story is unusual again because I didn't do it the way most people do it. I was still teaching, and I had we did this World Cup song for a laugh, because I was in a school play. One of the teachers, we used to have teachers in the school play, and I'm playing this Pharaoh king, and when he takes his Pharaoh robe, he's got the Elvis gear on, you see. So we did this World Cup song, Meat Pie Sausage Roll. So anyway, we did it in a couple of pubs and stuff, and we ended up doing a deal, signed a record deal, and we had it in the charts and everything. So I'm in the Frog and Bucket in Manchester, and I was doing lyrics to a song by Mick Hucknall, and I had a Mick Hucknall wig, and all that kind of stuff. And I did the song. It was all about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. So I get up, give the music to the lad doing the music, the sound and everything, do the song. Anyway, it went down really well. So the bloke who ran the place, Dave Perkins at the time, he said to me, "I've got this do on next Monday night, whatever it is. It's like all landlords in Greater Manchester and all that we're having to do. And would you come and do a bit?" When he said do a bit, I thought he meant do a comedy spot. So I'm frantically writing all this stuff. So I do this thing where I come on to this song, "I Feel Good," the James Brown thing. I feel good. And I go in the audience and I pick on someone, I do all this banter with them, get them on the stage and all that business. Then I do all these jokes and doing impressions as this character. I've got this character, with a wig on and all that. And then I finish with the song and I come off. Got a massive round of applause, done really well. And he says to me, "I didn't know you were going to do that." I went, "What do you mean?" He went, I only asked you to do the song. I went, "Oh, right." And he went, "Oh, don't worry about that." He said, "What are you doing weekend?" And so I got booked straight away. Right. And I'd only done it a few times, but the song at the end was such a big song. I was getting standing ovations, doing it. And so I'd only been doing it about 4 or 5 weeks, and I was headlining, and so that I'm just like trying to fill it all in, doing, and sort of did all right. And then they'd get people come up to me and they'd say, "How long have you been doing this then?" And I go, 4 weeks. And they go, I have. But there was 2 things that they were picking up on. The fact that I was headlining or whatever, but the other thing they were picking up on was how comfortable I was on stage. But I'd been singing and doing stuff in the club since I was like 18. So, 12, 13 years later, I'm comfortable on stage, So that's what they're picking up on. So I didn't really do it the way
the traditional way,
where they go and do 2 minutes, go and do 5 minutes, and then open spot and travelling all over. So I don't know if I was lucky or not, because I think the ones who really take the time getting there and learning the craft, I think they're better at the end. Because what happens when you do it the way I did it, where you're headlining straight away, then it's so difficult to leave anything out, because it's getting reactions, getting applause or whatever, and you think, I can't come in now on a different tack. So what I had to do, I had to just stop doing it. Stopped doing it, and then started doing stand-up as myself. And another reason why I stopped doing it as a character, is Chucky Mr. Goodtime Valencio, and doing it myself, is I've got the wig on, and I'm coming on and doing all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then at the same time, Phoenix Nights was out, and people were shouting out, Kenny, and all this, you see. So I thought, why am I standing here with this wig on? And they all know it's me, you know. So I thought, I'm going to have to stop. And I stopped doing it and started doing it as myself. And that was really funny, because I was being booked to headline gigs, but I'd never really done it as myself.
Was that a lot harder as yourself?
I think there was nothing to hide behind, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
you hide behind the character, you can be outrageous. You know, you can say stuff. I mean, I remember doing the one that was the Buzz Club, Agraman's gig in Charlton, and I came off stage, I'd just done this song and everything, and it went really well. And I ran in, I was bursting to go to the loo, you see, so ran in, took the wig off, got me like a jumper on, and I'm standing in the urinal, having a drink, and this bloke come in, he went, didn't think much of that, did you? And I went, yeah. He had no idea it was me. So, you could the possibility of dying on your ass and just being able to walk out, rather than walking out like that, So,
well, that's what happens when you die, isn't it? It's just, I hate when you're in a crowd or something and there's three of you, everyone's done well, if you haven't, or something like that. People can't even bring themselves to lie to you, can they? It's like, well, you've done well. They look you up and down like you're a pedo, don't they? They're like, didn't like that.
I got talking about looking like you're a pedo. I remember this is the true story. I did this gig in Liverpool. I think it was Silky's gig many years ago, and it was at the railway station in Liverpool, Lime Street, and there was the room where the gig was, but you had to go outside the room to a little room at the back where you could get changed. So I'm doing the character. So I'm on, I can't remember what I was on with now. But I'm sitting there watching the first couple of acts, and I thought, right, I better go and get changed now. So there's a bouncer on the door. So I go out, get changed, I've got this wig on, it's like a blonde wig and a cravat. And I come, and the door's locked, and I knocked on the door, and he went, turned his back, and I went, bang, he opened the door, and he went, what? I went, I'm the actor who's on. He went, he said, I thought he was a pedo. I said, you weren't going to let me in. So, that was a nice one from years ago. And I think the other one as well was I was on with a comedian. I think it was Bennett Aaron. I don't think I've ever seen him since. And we're doing this gig somewhere. I think it was in Coventry. And again, I'm sitting next to him. We're all sitting in a bit of a group. And I think it was Chris Cairns who was on. We're sitting on this group. Chris goes on, and then he gets in his car, and he's going off to Liverpool, isn't he? Going back home. And then this Bennett comes out, and he sits next to me, and he goes, "Where's Chris gone?" Now my picture's on the wall with the wig and everything, so I'm on the bill. And he goes, "Where's Chris gone?" I said, "Oh, he's gone." He went, "So you're not his mate then?" He thought, "Who are you?" Been sitting close to me all night talking. And I said, "No." I said, "That's me." He went, "Oh." So he thought I was a weirdo, like just someone sat next to me talking.
Well, on Carshare, you get you're a dogger on Carshare, aren't you? Did you go method on that, or was that just Peter just thought, I know the guy to play a dogger?
It's really weird because he rang me up and he said, "Oh, I've got something really suit you," or something like that. And I said, "What is it?" He went, "Playing a dogger." I went, "Oh, cheers," But it did work. It was quite funny. So, well,
John, he was in Brassic with you. So I know John Weaven. I can remember him saying he got picked to do a role in Hollyoaks, and they said you'd be ideal, you're typecast for this role. And he thought he'd be like a handsome lead or something like that. And it was like a pervert that's drugging women to sleep with him. And he was like, I don't know whether to change the way I act or dress or something. He said he got a bit like sort of paranoid slightly, like, is this what people think I look like?
Well, he's playing a copper now, isn't he, who bums dogs, so... That's what he does in his character, isn't it, in Brassic?
Yeah.
So, he's a nice lad, John.
Oh, no, he's spot on. I'm glad that he's getting some more TV work and stuff like that, because he's such a good actor, dead talented and stuff. And he stuck at it for a number of years. I think we'd done a short film years and years ago, and he was in that.
That's what always amazes me about actors is that, we're in a fortunate position where we can go and do comedy gigs, corporate gigs. Someone asks us to go and do something, we can get up and talk and do presentations, if whatever, and host events.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But a lot of actors, that's it. They end up doing bar work and stuff, to try and they're so dedicated. I think, again, going back to that thing where you see them on the screen in the TV program, you think, well, that's all right, that's nice to work, and that's easy, but you don't see what they've been through to get there, all the rejections, all the, full day going to London for castings and just, you don't get it and all, they must be so disheartening, but they just carry on, and they're fair play to them. When they make it big, then they deserve it.
Yeah, no, well, the casting and things, I think I've done one, and it was for an advert, and I don't know how you do it. It's just a stress, isn't it? That they've done it like an X Factor thing. You have to go on stage, you give your lines. Like you said, everyone was doing it dead loud, like, hello, everybody. And I was like, oh, my God. I was just like, hello, like, played it dead low. But my mate went, he's got no acting credentials. I've got no acting credentials. We got down to the last 4 for this advert. And I didn't get it, A, because I got my name wrong twice when I was doing the intro. And I kept saying the wrong words. All I have to say, all I have to do is pick up a cup and say, they think it's all over. It is now. And take a drink. I was like, it's over. I just kept doing it wrong. And I could see my mate. I went to school with my mate. He was just looking, going, for fuck's sake, just say the words. And
the brain just goes to mush, yeah,
it just, how do you find that? How do you prepare for that? Do you just think,
I've only done one in the last few years where I just got on a word, and it was, but the writer was in the room, and I'm not mentioning any names, but I just kept getting stuck over this one line, and it became a psychological thing in the end, because what's happening now with the lockdown and with the pandemic is that a lot of it's like this on Zoom now, or you do it on your phone and send it in, and actually that's how I got the Brassic job. Because my agent rang me and said, there's a casting for this thing called Brassic in London tomorrow. I said, I'm in Mallorca. It was my sister's birthday, and all the family went out there, So she said, oh, well, can you do a thing, what do you call it? What do you call them? Self-tape, So just arrived in Mallorca. So I did it, and then didn't hear anything for like 3 or 4 weeks. And when you don't hear anything, you just assume, you forget it, and it's gone. Yeah. It's never going to happen, On this occasion, it does. So I get a phone call. It must have been 6 weeks, actually. 6 weeks later. Can you come down to, do you know where the Sharp project is in Manchester on Oldham Road? You know the road where the Frog and Bucket is if you go to Oldham?
Yeah.
The big studios and everything there.
Right.
Anyway, so I go. So I do the read through, like casting again, and we've got the directors in there, casting agent, and Joe Gilgan, it's his story really. He's the one who's kind of written it with Danny Brockles, and he's laughing his head off when I'm doing the lines, and he kept saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, but it's just so funny." I said, "Don't worry about that, it's good for me, I know it's something." So I leave there. Roll on another 5 or 6 weeks, and not heard anything again. So I thought, well, my head's going like, that went well, but I didn't get it. And then 6 weeks later, it's like, no, we want you to do this other character. I didn't have to read for that one. I just went in and did it, So the one I'm doing now, I didn't read for. They just wanted me to do it. But I've done a few advert things over the years. One. I did it, and it was an advert about advertising on TV with all the. And there's a guy he's lying on the psychiatrist bench. The psychiatrist is there, and he's singing all these like adverts, I'm a secret lemonade drinker, and all that kind of stuff, So me being a singer, I'm lying down, and he clicks his fingers something, and I belt them all out one after the other, a load of them. And anyway, she comes in like the woman who's obviously commissioning. Went, all right, let's do that again, and just let him go with it. So I thought, this is going well, Yeah. I walked out. I thought, that's the best audition I've ever done. That best casting I've ever done. And I roll on again. So about a year later, I'm watching the TV and it's on, and the guy who does it, he's not singing. It's all, like the original songs in the background. I thought, why have they had me doing that? You know what I mean? It's like, you think it's just wasting people's time. But the best story I ever heard about castings and being kind of inappropriate was Alex Boardman. You know Alex Boardman, the comedian.
Yeah.
He remember me telling me once. He said he drove all the way up to Newcastle to do this casting. Anyway, he gets there. He's got the script in his hand and everything. He sits outside and he looks, and there's a line. There's about 5 or 6 of them, and they're all black. And he's a white lad, Alex. So he's thinking, got to be 2 parts here, you know what I mean? So anyway, one lad goes in, does his reading, then they dish it up. Alex Boardman, he walks in, he said, and the casting director's got her head down. She looks up, she saw him, she went, and he went, I thought it was funny, he said, because she went, oh, you're not a Geordie either, are you? So he'd driven all the way up to Newcastle to play the part of a black Geordie. And you think, can't they see his picture, you know what I mean? And can't they read and see where it says, he's a Mancunian or whatever? So that was a funny, but nothing like that has ever happened to me. But I thought, you'd be fuming, wouldn't you? Man, driving all the way up to Newcastle from Manchester.
You get some nutters doing it though, don't you? Like you say, I've no experience like yours, but the ones that I've had, you've got these people like, can you be quiet while I get into character? And you're like, all right, so, you know what I mean? Like, you sat there, aren't you? And some are like screaming and like getting the tones. For me, because I'd never done acting or anything like that, it's just such an odd. And when we done the short film,
it is odd. Like, it's not real, is it?
Yeah, and we had to audition for this little short film that we did, and I just assumed, you'd write to me, they'd know how to play, but they don't, do they? People that aren't into comedy and that, they're reading it like, oh hell, and you're like, oh, that's not quite right. And like at the time, I was dead young, and that was saying to Dave that he's horrendous, and it was. To play funny, you've got to be funny, I think. And it shows with actors like yourself. You're naturally funny. Will Ferrell. When you're talking on telly and doing it in real life, it's just the same. But actors just can't play funny as well, I don't think.
Yeah, you do. And you get some funny kind of comedy actors who just don't look right doing serious drama either, But, it's horses for courses, isn't it, really? But, casting is sometimes it's when you walk in a room, they go, that's the look, that's, and you open your mouth, they go, that's just who we're looking for, and you think, they don't say it, but or somebody go like, yeah, he's good, but he's like, he's too short, he's too old or whatever, and you think, all my details were there before you dragged me in, if you know what I mean. But, you've got to develop a thick skin, John, to be honest. You're going to do it. You've just got to keep going and just hope that one bites,
Well, you in that farmer guy in Brassic, that's quite a good dynamic, isn't it? When I watched Brassic in lockdown, it was one of the things I just thought, well, we're in lockdown, I'm going to watch it. And I really enjoyed Brassic, to be honest, when I watched it. But I love the dynamic with you too. Yeah,
we both said the same thing, that there's a kind of... Because one of the scenes where my character thinks he's killed him, and there's a genuine concern for him, you know what I mean? It's not like they hate each other no matter what. They've got like a love-hate relationship, and it does work, and I think we both enjoy doing it, Steve is such a naturally funny, because he's not sort of tempered by thinking, oh, how does that sound? Does that sound a bit rude? Does that sound a bit, mad? He just does it. And you think, Jesus, where did that come from? So he's great to work with because he's got no inhibitions. He just does it. It's great.
And is it your ass that's on screen that we see, or is that a stunt ass?
For what? Which one's that?
When you're sleeping with the pigs.
When the pigs run around. Oh no, that's all my own work. Because there's a lad who one of the gang like Path. And he's on the floor, and the cameras were everywhere, and the pig's running around. The pig had a camera strapped to its back, to catch anything, you know. And he just sort of, I'm on the floor, I'm standing there, and he's on his knees, and he sort of turns, and my ass is there, and he sort of goes, you know, dead quick. And it was a great. I don't know if they used it, but we were looking, you know, watching the rushes afterwards, and so yeah, this. But I think originally they wanted me to do it, you know, butt naked, bolloco, and I said, no chance. You know, I'll never teach you again.
Oh, that's what I mean. But anyways, Archie, cheers for coming. I'll let you get on with the Man City match.
Nice to see you, John.
Yeah, good to see you. Cheers, thanks a lot.
Big one tonight, Real Madrid.
Oh, that's
Blancos. Yeah,
have they isolated for 14 days?
They've got special dispensation from the Pope, haven't they, Real Madrid, to come over, you know, and because what they're supposed to do, they're supposed to all be in a bubble, aren't they? You know, like cricketers. You remember Godfrey Archer when he just nipped home, you know. So I just hope none of them have done that. But yeah, they'll all be. What tickles me is you see them at the end of the match and they're all touching elbows and all that. But you know, can have each other by the throat after the game.
Rugby, you're not allowed to shake hands, but you're allowed to scrum with each of you. Like, what's the point?
No, there's no scrums, is there, in rugby league now at the moment?
Oh, well, before lockdown started, like, you know, when they were going into lockdown, they stopped the handshakes 2 weeks before, and you're like, they're rolling around on top of each other, getting a naked shower together. I don't think that handshake's going to make the difference.
Well, you see, there's the thing about comedy gigs, isn't it? You know, you can sit on a plane. I mean, I know they've got air filters on planes, but you can sit on a plane, go to America up from Manchester or whatever, you know, 8 hours, but you can't sit in a theatre, you know, we're spaced out and watch a show, you know, so...
Could you put a show on a plane? That's what I was going to say. Like, you know, when it lands, exactly. Could you not just say, well, we'll just go and get a load of people on, put a show on and something like that? But I just don't think they have a clue. They just make it up as they go along, don't they, at the minute?
Yeah, well, I mean, if anything went wrong on the plane, it might bring a whole new meaning to dying on your ass.
Oh, what's that mean? Anyways, cheers,
Cheers, nice to see you, John.
Cheers.
Take care.